we want to get to these earnings reports. We're just getting what Facebook numbers are crossing the wire. Stock up just around 3.5%. Miles, what do you have?
All right, here we go. Facebook beating on the top and the bottom lines here. $1.80 in earnings per share. Street was looking for $1.77. Revenue, $18.69 billion. Street was looking for $17.3 billion. Beat there. Daily active users for Facebook, 1.79 billion users, 1.74 is what was expected. Monthly active users for Facebook, 2.7 billion users, 2.63 is what was expected. Now looking at family, so this is Instagram, WhatsApp, and Facebook all together. Family daily active people, 2.47 billion users as of the second quarter. Monthly active users within the entire family, 3.14 billion users. So that's a lot of big numbers there for Facebook. The company outlining some of the impacts they've seen from COVID, looking at engagement. They saw increased engagement, not a huge surprise as people were sheltered in place. More recently, they say they've seen signs of normalization in user growth and engagement as some of these shelter-in-place policies have been relaxed a bit. So implying, I guess, on those user numbers we just outlined, maybe a slight pull forward or an increase in some of those numbers, just given that we were all stuck inside. Revenue was up 10% over last year, and they expect that their third quarter revenue will be basically similar to what they saw in July, which again is kind of right in this 10% year over year increase. So we'll dig into this just a little bit as we go through the day here. But again, Facebook up early after hours, beating on the top and bottom line and on all of their user growth metrics.
And Miles, definitely not a company gasping for air, as some have suggested, by any means. What struck me just very quickly about the numbers, one of the numbers that you just put out there was MAUs, monthly active users, 2.7 billion, 2.6 expected. Oh, so they missed to the good by 100 million. Any web company would kill to have that marginal miss. In other words, 100 million. It's crazy. And by the way, 2.6, 2.7 billion people, that's the population of India and China combined. The two most populous countries on the planet combined. That's crazy. That's all I got.
That is some serious scale. As I'm going through these numbers, I just want to call out that Mark Zuckerberg starting talking about small businesses, which is kind of interesting. Last quarter, it was all about connecting people, but leaning into the fact that the very first thing is here, we're glad to be able to provide small businesses the tools they need to grow. Also, Miles noted the normalization there. That's a great word to put out. If we're seeing some normalization of trends, they do mention the boycott. And Facebook has never had revenue growth be in the single digits since they went public back in 2012. It would have been the first time, and that was the expectation, but they got a 10% revenue growth. So there you go, a double digit. They avoid the single digit there yet again.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be certainly interesting just taking a look at their expectations here going forward, because I think that's been the big concern for investors, and that's the information that investors have wanted to see what these companies project for the second half of the year, for the third quarter, and then for the rest of 2020. And Facebook saying that they expect daily active users and monthly active users to be flat or roughly down quarter over quarter. They also said in their release that they are facing a period of unprecedented uncertainty to our business outlook. And Rick, this is something we've been talking about not only with these tech companies, but you can say it just across the board, the uncertainty that these companies are facing over the next couple of months, because it all relies on the progress that we make in fighting this virus.
Well, I mean, I'm not sure there's too much uncertainty around tech at the moment. I mean, as we're seeing these numbers come in, they're just, I mean, they're as dominant as their worst critic said at the hearings yesterday on Capitol Hill. I mean, Facebook, just an incredible juggernaut. It has just shaken off every boycott. If there's really an advertising boycott, it's barely showing up in their numbers. And imagine what they'll be doing when there's no boycott. You know, just one thing I want to point out to Jen's observation about the very first thing they do is draw attention to how important they are for small business. This is the "We are the backbone of America" PR strategy that Facebook has been adopting for at least the last 2 days since Mark Zuckerberg had to go and explain the company to members of the House of Representatives again.
I hope Jim Jordan owns the stocks, right?
That's interesting. But I mean, going back to this ad boycott, the fact that Facebook hasn't seen any material impact, that's something that we have talked about time and time again when we take into account just the number of advertisers that Facebook has on its platform. But again, shares still higher here after